Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. It's JoedaFlamin here. I'm here to bring you guys a very special piece of content because this is something I've never done before. I may have had post-game press conferences in the past, but this one's a different type of press conference because it's a draft analysis and a power ranking video. Now, we've had Hollow Kid and Makeda, two of our coaches. They decided to do one of their own, and they did it on the Sword and Shield Division, of which you see I have a giant red box on the screen because I ain't spoiling the results. You want to find out those results? You got one of two options. You can either A, go on the public site itself, or B, wait till next Saturday or this Saturday, give or take, at the time of this recording. Depends on when the upload goes up. Probably will be sometime. But they had a duo over there doing that one, so I figured, let me do a duo. And this gentleman needs no introductions, but I'm going to give him an introduction. He was my first ever sparring partner. He's beaten my behind a couple of times in Draft League. And he's just an all-around a good dude. It's Coach Matt, also known as BadassFroslass of the Indiana Tracers. What's going on, big guy? How you doing?
Hello. Yeah, we're out here. I figured people can't hear enough of my opinions, so I might as well post them online, so at least when I look bad, they can laugh at me.
Exactly. I mean, that's all we can do. We just have to have people make fun of us and tell us what kind of idiots we are.
Hey, Bishme needs someone to clip for all his video intros. Might as well be me this year.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do that. Alright, so, as we said, we have 4 divisions here, ladies and gentlemen. We have the Sword Division, the Shield Division, the Armor Division, and the Tundra Division. Now, the rules of this offseason of the YCL is very simple. Nobody is playing anybody in the other division unless you make the playoffs, in which case you might see a Pokemon that you've got on your team, but you might have to deal with a person who is just overall a dominant person, because we've got a couple of people we're going to talk about in the Armor and Tundra Division that are pretty strong, but I'm just going to spoil it right now for you guys. In this offseason of YCL, we've got Mountay. All you have to do is just look on the Draft League World Championship qualifying that Automatic has. Just look at his CCS score. I will leave it at there. Right, Matt? I'll leave it at there.
Hey, Mountay got to make it through Pat Mac to get to the championship this season, so I don't know. Pat Mac, as far as I know, hasn't lost a game in the YCL since season 3, and that was when he was replacement coach.
Ooh, that's actually that's a good one. Why don't we do that before BDSP? We'll throw it out there. YCL full season 3 champ versus YCL off season champ. Winner.
Still in season 4.
True, but we can call it like a little bit of an off season as well. But the winner gets not just bragging rights, because naturally they've won,
of course,
but they also get a special something in BDSP courtesy of the loser. So loser has to do something for them in BDSP.
Okay.
We'll see how they.
I love Pat Mac, but I need someone to beat him just because, we can't let him have 2 undefeated seasons. That's just ridiculous.
True, but I mean, hey, if anybody probably could, it probably would be Mountay, because that dude is tough.
He's got a solid division. There's a lot of scary teams with him this season, so, we're not even guaranteeing he's making it to playoffs.
Yeah,
that's not one of the divisions we're focusing on.
Not at all. We're focusing on the Armor Division, we're focusing on the Tundra Division, and I'm sure by now, even though we've been rambling on for a little bit, everybody can understand why the commissioners and the wonderful staff of the YouTube Challenger League decided to name it Sword, Shield, Armor, and Tundra. And if you don't, well, that's just your loss. And that's all. I'll leave it at that. But we're going to get into it, ladies and gentlemen. The first team we're going to look at is the Montreal Score Rupees. And that team is coached by, let me move this color source out of the way, Imel. Now, at first glance, he's got a really strong team at first glance, and it starts with Matt's favorite Pokemon from last season. A certain mascot of a kid's series.
Yeah. My favorite Pokemon that I used last season, JoedaFlamin.
Oh yes. Oh yes, I forgot about that Rocky Dragon. That probably should have been our first Rock and Dragon type before Tyrantrum.
True. I do really like this team because I mean they took two Pokemon that I used last season, including Libero Cinderace, which was the kill leader last season for the league. So it's something that I think is really easy to use. You just have to click Pyro Ball and U-turn, occasionally Court Change, and I think it's a lot of fun to use because the Libero ability just lets you be super creative with it.
And maybe even Gunk Shot like you did against me because I was like,
yeah.
This thing gets
a good coverage. I brought moves like Gunk Shot, Zen Headbutt, Assurance. Like, it gets good moves.
Yeah, it definitely does. And then, if he doesn't want to bring the poison move, which I don't think he will because of his next mon, he's got Nidoking. And that mon's very tough as well. I mean, I've seen the normal combination is the Sheer Force Life Orb combo, but I have seen people run Scarf Nidoking to great effect, including a league that I was in that the Nidoking had 17 kills in 5 weeks.
Yep, Harry beat me week 1 last season with a Scarf Nidoking. That thing can still be a threat even if it doesn't have the Life Orb, just because Sheer Force is just crazy and it has incredible coverage. It can hit pretty much everything between its ground, poison, electric, fire, ice. It gets all kind of moves to everything. And this thing, it's strong. It's a little bit faster than Nidoking as well. I know there's a bit of debate between which one people like to use more. They were in the same tier, so it wasn't too difficult. But I do like the Nidoking with the Cinderace. They both actually get a Sucker Punch as well, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, and I think I'll make the argument right here because, I mean, it's an A tier mon as we're showing our viewing audience. But I want to throw this out here. If they gave Nidoking physical ice type coverage, would that be enough to get it to S tier?
I think people would still use the special one just because it doesn't have a Sheer Force ground move on the physical side. Earthquake doesn't get that Sheer Force boost. So I think people would still stick with the Earth Power Sludge Wave combo. But honestly, they might.
Yeah, they very much. I mean, who knows? Maybe even Gen 9 gives us a physical ground type move with some kind of and then he's got a couple of clerics. He's got Sylveon with it gets Wish, it gets Calm Mind. I mean, Pixelate's a good ability. I
really like this top 4 because he went offensive for those top 2 Pokemon, and then defensive for the next 2. And Sylveon's a really good special defensive wall. Tangro's a really good physically defensive wall. So I think they pair together really, really well. They're both weak to poison, but you do have the Nidoking there, which is kind of nice. This team is a little bit scared of the poison types because it's Bisharp and Nidoking, neither one which can really take a hit. But beyond that, I don't think there's anything too bad because both of their walls super, super hard.
Yeah, and then like Tangrowth, if it takes a hit that it doesn't like or goes below 50%, I think it's safe to say we all know what's going to happen. It's going to reject.
Yeah, you just regen that thing up
you're literally just going to. Yeah, you're gonna swap it out. You'll get its health back and take no problem. And then Bisharp is an interesting one. I mean, what I will say, I am the Steel type master. We all know this. You can check it out on the video on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Self plug there. Who cares?
Yep.
But Bisharp is a good mon. It can do some damage with that base 125 attack. It's just let me put it this way. I am a Dark-type knight. Nothing can stop me. Hello, my name is Fisty. Oh no, I'm weak.
Yeah, I gotta say, Bisharp doesn't really play like a Steel type. I think I usually like to pair it with another Steel type if I do draft it, just because most Steel types are usually used for their defensive utility because it's a great defensive typing, and Bisharp doesn't have the defense to back that up. It's a very offensive Pokemon, and it plays a lot more as a Dark type than as a Steel type from my experience.
Yeah, just slap knockoff on it, maybe Iron Head if you get lucky that you can use that move.
A nice Swords Dance Sucker Punch combo for those 50-50 mind games of will they attack or will they not.
Yeah, and then as we alluded to at the beginning, you got Jeffstegeman. We all know how good your Jeffstegeman was. A nice rough skin mon with some toxicing and all that.
Yeah, and Rocky Helmet's a great set for that mon. And it gets Glare, which is great. It's his third rock setter. I think looking at his team, he only has rocks, but having Cinderace with court change, you can have any hazard if your opponent's willing to set it up against you. So I don't think that's the worst issue. Oh, and Toxic Spike as well.
Yeah, and then Starmie. I mean, Starmie is a good mon because it's fast, and
I think Starmie's great.
Now the real question is I've seen people do it on the ladder, but it just honestly seems problematic unless you're deliberate on this. Why give Analytic to a base 115 mon? I mean, how often is it going to be slower?
I mean, Analytic activates if your opponent switches out, so it still can hit really hard if you can scare your opponent out, you can do those like that extra damage in that situation. I think that's the main reason for it.
Now that is something that I have just learned today.
Yep.
Because I did not know how Analytic really worked on that, something like that. And then and then we'll throw out the. I mean, and it does get physical cover.
I like all of these low-tier Pokemon. I think Delibird and Rufflet are kind of the same Pokemon because they're both the hustle flying type. Where if you're like, you know what, I feel like missing a move today, I'm going to bring one of my low tiers. I think they do pretty much the same thing. Delibird does get things like Memento, Spikes. I think it gets like Rapid Spin. So it is a pretty decent utility mon. I don't see it coming too often because it pretty much requires Boots or a Sash Suicide lead. But it isn't a bad Pokemon, and I think they chose really good low tiers overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that even though Delibird is absolutely weak as all hell, the fact that they finally acquiesced GameFreak and gave it more moves than just present, that helped it out a little bit. I think of his low tier mons, the only one that I really don't think he will ever bring is Regigigas, because who's going to risk that for 5 turns?
I mean, he's got to face me, and I've got a Spectrier, so, you know, it is his Ghost Resist, because Bisharp is the only other thing that I see that resists it, unless you're going Cinderace or Rufflet. So I think the Regigigas is kind of important on this team, just as the Ghost switch-in. I don't know if any of the other coaches in our division have Scary Ghosts, I don't remember. But it is something that he might have to consider just as a defensive option. He gets things like Knockoff, Thunderwave, and they gave it Protect and Substitute this generation. So I think Regigigas did get buffed quite a bit this gen, but I mean, it's still a D-tier Pokemon for a reason.
Yeah, because that ability just cripples it for the first 5 turns of the match.
Scare it out, it's got to start it all over again.
Yeah, you could, I mean, quite literally, you could just burn it, and if it doesn't have rest, it's absolutely, it don't matter how the slow start works.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be screwed after that.
Yeah, but look at those stats. If you can get it to stay on the field for 5 turns, oh, it's a big old problem. Especially with things like Power Up Punch. I know that's popular.
Yeah, that move. Yeah, that move is just insane. I mean, it'll probably have Body Slam for normal stab because nobody's really going to risk Giga Impact, and Crush Grip is just terrible.
That's just personal preference.
True, because I mean, you could bait a status on
exactly.
from your opponent, and then they're like, oh, hey, now you got to work with this, but nope. But at the same time, I mean, that ability is just, it's bad, and it's signature move, like we said, it's also bad. I mean, that move, it does more damage with the more HP, but it never does enough to guarantee a knockout.
Yeah. You need to be getting rid of that slow start for it to actually do enough damage, I'm gonna guess. But it's got 160 attack, so if you can get through those turns, you'll be hitting real hard.
Oh boy, will you ever. I mean, there's a reason that Slacking has that Truant ability, because if it didn't, that mon would be the most broken mon in probably all of draft, or just Pokemon in general.
Yeah,
and that,
absolutely.
And of course we must say that with preference to the almighty Arceus, we must preface that.
And VMAX.
Yes, and Eternatus. Alright, so the next team that we have.
One last thing, I do really like the speed tiers on this team. They've got their 130 so that Cinderace isn't the fastest Pokemon, so they don't have to Scarf Cinderace every week. And they've got a couple of other Pokemon around 100 but they've got some slow Pokemon. I think they have a good speed tier. There's no big gaps for people to really take advantage of against them.
Yeah, it's very true. Because, I mean, who knows? Maybe he even wants to go really crazy and bring slow Starmie with Trick Room.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so the next team that we had, we prefaced them earlier because they did one of their own analysis of the Sword and Shield division. We are going to Makeda and his Boston Beedus next. And at first glance, yeah, he's got the Mew. So
yeah, you're familiar with that one.
Just a little familiar with Mew. I mean, you can do just about anything with it, including stuff that I never even thought about doing with Mew. Like you can run.
That's just the side effect of getting all the moves ever. Basically, is that you're not going to think up everything, but hopefully you can think up the best set for any given battle. Yeah,
because your opponent has no idea what it's going to bring. Like, is it going to be a full setup mod or a full hazard mod? Is it going to be a suicide lead? Is it going to do this? Is it going to do that? Like, we don't know what the hell it's going to do. And then
I think the most popular sets nowadays are the setup sets because Mew is very good at, Dragon Dance, Nasty Plot, those types of sets, or like Rock Polish, Weakness Policy. I think that's the most common use for Mew nowadays. People don't like to get it stuck into the hazards, and that's something that you don't want to do if you draft a Mew, is get it stuck into those hazard position. And I think that Makeda's done a decent job around that. They have the Landers, they have the Weezing, but I do think that they might be forced into bringing, Rock's Mew or defensive Mew quite a bit just because of the teams that they drafted.
Yeah, exactly. And then you said it with Landers Theory, and I mean, I know I drafted it myself, so I mean, it's definitely a good mod. It gets some good moves. I mean, the base 145 attack is always good. 91 speed is good enough to outpace a good amount of the meta game. So you can get a couple of hits off here or there. I mean, he's got High Dragon with Levitate, and let's just say High Dragon. Wolfie did a good impression of High Dragon. That it is a dominant darkened dragon. Hi, I'm a fairy. My weakness, no. Because basically,
going off those top three, I think this team has very good momentum. Mew, Landers, and High Dragon all get momentum moves. So does Vaporeon, Regieleki, Eldegoss. I think Purdy gets U-turn. So this team does have a lot of pivot moves, and I think that's really good for this team because Landers loves to be switching in and out. High Dragon likes to be Scarf, U-turn, Dark Pulse, Draco, and Vaporeon's a nice stopgap. If you have, an offensive threat, you just bring in Vaporeon, switch it up, and then flip turn out. So I think it's a really balanced team, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I mean,
this is another team actually where the Steel type isn't defensive; it's an offensive Lucario, which is kind of interesting. We have two teams in this division, the offensive Steel types. So, again, something like a Poison could be scary for this team, but they do have the Landers, so it shouldn't be too big of an issue.
This is true, and at the same time, though, if we learned anything from Ray Rizzo, it's that any mon that looks offensive can be defensive.
Yeah, exactly. I do think fairies are kind of scary for this because they're only resistant to Weezing, and when you have Hydreigon, you've have to expect that your opponent's going to be bringing their fairy most of the time. But I'm pretty sure Lucario gets Bullet Punch, so that's not the biggest issue, so you have a couple of options against it.
I mean, Charizard's also resists.
Oh, yeah.
And Weezing.
Worry about that.
And Weezing also resists it too, so it's like...
Yeah, that was the... Weezing was the one big fairy resist on this team. It's the only really defensive one, because Charizard's got to be running boots, and it's not the bulkiest Pokemon out there.
Not really. I mean, also with Regieleki, I mean, we can go without mentioning the base 200 speed. The thing, there is nothing, there's probably some mods with a Scarf that will outspeed it at max, but that's risking max speed on your mon, which you could use those EVs elsewhere if necessary. Like, just take the Transistor hit and hope your mon survives, basically, because Regieleki, I think if I'm correct, it only gets normal, electric, and ancient power.
Good, it can remove the ground types, And I don't see this team doing a great job of that just because their Pokemon that hit ground types hard or super effectively are their defensive mons like Vaporeon and Eldegoss. Ice Key is not bad, but that's not really something you need to be bringing every single week. So I do think it could be difficult for this team to remove ground types, and I think people will be able to just leave their ground type in the back if Regieleki shows up. So I think that could be a bit of an issue for this team, because Regieleki really needs those ground types removed before it can do anything. Otherwise, it's kind of resort to just, setting up screens and pivoting out. And that's not really the best way to use that one, in my opinion.
True. However, at the same time, before we go to the next game, there is a strategy they could use with Charizard. They could do either Eldegoss, I think Persian gets it, I think Galarian Weezing gets it, I think Hydreigon gets it, and we know Mew definitely gets it because Mew gets every move. What about Scarf Charizard with Sunny Day up and Solar Power?
I guess it's fine. I don't see it being too nice just because, again, if rocks go up, then that's 50% of your health on Charizard plus the Solar Power doing even more damage every turn. It could be fine because they do have really good hazard removal. They've got Mew, Landorus, Hydreigon, Weezing, Regieleki, Eldegoss. They can all remove hazards.
Yeah, so it could be a potential late game. It could be a potential late, let's say the hazard setter is gone and the hazards aren't there. That could be a really nasty late game.
I do think that nothing else on their team really takes advantage of Sun, though. I think Hydreigon, Fire Blast, and Mew fire moves are about all you'll get out of it. So I think it's okay, but I don't know how often you want to be building your whole team around your D-tier Pokemon.
True, and then of course, the E's and the 2 F's, and I honestly I don't see...
I really like Ice Q out of the F tier. I think that's a great pick because it gets super scary if you can get a belly drum off and the Ice Phase broken. That thing is super fast, it's ice and water coverage, so there's not a whole lot that can switch into it very safely. I think it's a really good pickup. You kind of have to hit it with a special attack or else you're in big trouble.
Yeah, that I've learned about because...
Yeah, especially because they do have such good hazard removal. This is a Pokemon that doesn't want to run boots, even though it's weak to rocks, and so I think having all the hazard removal is really helpful for it.
Yeah, like a sub-belly drum set on Ice Cube, and then just hope that you're able to be able to sweep with that.
Physical attacker, and the belly drum is pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, pretty much, and then maybe a Select Berry too, if anything, if you want to just ensure that.
Yeah. Well, it has like stupid high speed if its ice face is broken. It's like 130 something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. All right, and now the next team, which is ironically the fun team, because we get to mock your team now.
Yeah, lucky me.
How great is that? We get to mock the Indiana Tracers now.
I signed up for this, but yeah, we look at my team. And
now, ladies and gentlemen, we do also want to preface this. We will have it in the iCard above here, maybe even in the description, one or the other. There will be a link, so if you want to see Matt talk about his team by himself and explain why he picked all these mods, you are more than welcome to do that. And then while you're at it, give him a sub.
Hey, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's look at it. We got Urshifu single, we got Corviknight, we got the other Nido, the Spec, the Arcanine, the Rabombi, the Uxie, low Gurk moment right there, maybe. Lantern, Basculin, Maractus, and Wigglytuff.
Yeah, so I had the first overall pick of our side of the draft, and so I don't love having that position because I like to, have a little bit of synergy between my first couple picks, but I mean, I can't complain when I get Urshifu single strike. I feel like that's kind of the thing, like you have to draft it if it's off board, is kind of my opinion on it. So I don't want to say I got stuck with it because it's a stupid broken Pokemon, but I felt like I had to build my entire team around that thing, which is why I ended up picking a Steel and a Poison type on the wheel as soon as he got back.
I mean, if TPO is any indication, though, I mean, that Corviknight, now granted, you can't use the G-Max to get it set up, but Nice weakness policy here. Nice iron defense here. Nice, maybe an agility here. Either iron defense or agility here. And a little power trip.
Iron defense sets because it gets both body press and power trip. So it's kind of, it doesn't have to be offensive and still can pose a big threat with attacks.
Yes, it can. And then Nidoqueen, we discussed its male counterpart, but Nidoqueen is... Don't sleep on the Queen, because the Queen can sometimes...
I went with Nidoqueen over Nidoking because I figured, I need stuff to be switching into fairy types. I want a little bit of bulk on it instead of just the raw power that is Nidoking.
And I mean, hey, sometimes Nidoqueen can hit harder than Nidoking.
Oh yeah, it's still Life Orb, Sheer Force. Like, it's still going to be hitting real hard.
Or, let's also think of it this way. Rivalry as an option instead of Sheer Force.
I considered bringing that in a different league, but it was more as a joke because my opponent had multiple Pokemon that were forced to be male. I think, honestly, Nidoking isn't bad at running Rivalry because the things like the Genies are always male. And so I think you can get away with it facing like a Thundurus or something like that. But it doesn't really work for Nidoking.
True, but it's...
relatively, they're locked into being female.
I thought it was... If it's the opposite gender, it's...
It does less damage if it's the opposite gender. It does more if you're the same gender.
Okay, because I know I've kept... Yeah, I mean, I've captured mobs with that ability, but I've almost never used.
When you've got Sheer Force, you usually don't need to worry about the other abilities. Although Poison Point isn't the worst ability on the Pokemon either, if you're just running defensive.
True, although at the same time, the question can also be, Poison Point or Poison Touch? Which one do you like? Do you like the ability to make any move poison? Or
I think Poison Point's kind of better in this situation because if you're going offensive, you want Sheer Force. If you're hitting people with attacks, you're going to want to go with Sheer Force. And so I think it's better to, if you're taking hits and not attacking, then you want to poison them, I think. That's at least my logic with it.
And that's fair. And then we get into your speed area right here.
Yeah, the other star that
you got
kind of, I wanted, 1 star physical mon, 1 star special mon. Last season that is Cinderace, Coco. This season it's Urshifu Spectre. And I think it's a pairing, though a lot of people, when they draft Spectre, they go for, a really good fighting type. Because Spectre can't hit those normal or those dark types very hard at all. And so if you just pair a fighting type with it, it covers both of those really, really well. And so I think when you get, something like the Urshifu Single Strike, which hits stupid hard with close combat, it's just really easy to just slap on Spectre because they complement each other offensively so well.
And then also, as I found out, Spectre does get access to Icy Wind, so you can So a Mudshot can always help out for the electric types.
Roar Spectre in playoffs last season.
Uproar?
Yeah, Arts killed my Jigglypuff with Uproar, but I tried to not dwell on that one.
Well, hey, Arts made the finals, so you lost to a finalist, so we can't get mad over that. And then we got Arcanine, which literally can do it can be a physical attacker, it can be special attacker, it can set up sun, it can do the morning sun, it can heal itself. I mean, it's a good mon all around. And then you got Rabombi with base 124 speed. It's fast enough to get a Quiver Dance off. We all know this.
Yeah.
Just a matter of.
I just wanted webs on this team because if you notice, I have a lot of Pokemon that are just under that base 100 speed, and so I figured I kind of needed webs somewhere on the team, even if I'm not bringing them that often. It's just nice to have it available as an option.
That's a very fair one. And then let's give him his credit where it's due. We must proceed and give a Gert moment because.
Oh, I didn't draft this at all because of Gert, but if he wants to claim that I did, he's more than welcome to.
Yeah, we'll see if he wants to, but we'll say it was a Gert moment, even though in actuality we know the real dirt behind it. I mean, but it's strong. I mean, it can hit decently, but it hits like a tank.
It's definitely the defensive one, and I kind of wanted that. You know, I just wanted more pivots, Pokemon that can switch in, switch out, and get me Urshifu and Spectre on the field as much as possible.
Yeah, then Lantern.
My team, I think 8 out of my 11 Pokemon have some sort of momentum move, and so I think my goal this season was just to make it so it was really hard to pin down a single Pokemon and get a good matchup consistently against whatever I had on the field.
Yeah, as I'm just now learning, Arcanine can learn Teleport of all moves.
Yep, it's just Nidoqueen, Spectre, and Maractus that can't pivot out, I believe.
Yeah, that's a weird move for Arcanine. I think we can all agree, though. I mean,
yeah, it's one of those classic Gen 1 moments.
It's definitely a Gen 1 moment.
Lantern, star of my show, the Pokemon that I will always draft. I was looking at my stats recently, and Lantern has been to 40% of my battles across the board on this website, and that's twice as much as almost any other Pokemon for me. It's easily my favorite Pokemon in draft leagues. I think it's ridiculously underappreciated just because it gets the Volt Absorb and the Water Absorb. It can beat bulky waters on its own, and it's a very good bulky water itself with momentum and like Heal Bell.
Yeah, that it does. And then Basculin's good. I mean, it can be good. I mean, it's a good momentum. So, I mean, base 98 speed, it'll get a flip turn off, and then the adaptability will...
I wanted a low tier that could hit stupid hard because I don't have a ton of super offensive Pokemon, and with adaptability, Basculin hits very, very hard. And
then with Lantern, like, let's say you run Volt Absorb, you can bring Maractus with Storm Drain. And then,
yep, exactly.
Because most people probably would never expect a Cactus to have that ability.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of just picked that up for like support. Just kind of wanted a grass type.
Can we petition GameFreak right now while they're still working on Legends Arceus to do what they should have done with Unova and make Maractus a Cacnea evolution?
Oh, okay. I hadn't considered that.
Yes,
I'm a big Cacturn guy. I'm a big Cacturn guy, so I don't know how I feel about that. Because, you know,
Cacturn all
split evolutions, one of them always gets forgotten. Like, no one cares about Glalie. That mon's stupid.
True, I mean, but Cacturn all male, Maractus all female.
True.
And we can all say it till the cows come home, and Game Freak will maybe come out with it when Generation 10. When Generation 10 comes out, they'll probably say that yes, we wanted to make Luvdisc evolve into a Lomomola.
Oh, poor Luvdisc. I wish I could use Eevee like Luvdisc. I'd draft that thing immediately.
Oh my god, it would be so great.
But yeah, the last Pokemon on the team, the last F tier is Wigglytuff. That's just because I drafted Jigglypuff last season. It was kind of my mascot last season. And there were a lot of times I was using it, and I was like, you know, this would be nice if I just had leftovers on it. So I drafted Jigglypuff, but with leftovers. And I just love that it gets Teleport, Wish, Knockoff, Stealth Rocks. I think it's just a very good moveset for a very mediocre Pokemon. But this thing actually gets Frisk, and it also runs Friend Guard Jigglypuff every week, which is fantastic. Yeah,
that was probably the only thing that you really disliked about Jigglypuff.
Yeah, that's the big problem with Jigglypuff, is you have to run Friend Guard if you want to use Teleport. You can't use competitive. But I think Wigglytuff you can.
Probably. I mean, not really sure. But next team up, we're going to go to the Dundee Darmanitans and Coach Rory. And at first glance here, we're going to look at his team. We got Como-O, we got Gengar, we got Mamoswine, we got Cantonian Zapdos, we got Milotic, Registeel, Alolan Ninetales, Aromatisse, Thwackey, Carkol, and Lightning Galarian form. Now, before we talk about the D tiers, I'm just going to say it real quick, and you're free to agree, disagree in your own way.
Yeah.
Do I smell a fully or primarily defensive-oriented squad here in his top picks?
I mean, I can't say that Gengar is the most defensive or Mamoswine, but the Milotic Zapdos is a very good defensive core.
As is Registeel.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think Registeel is as good as a lot of people do. but it's not bad. I think Zapdos Milotic is going to be the bread and butter of this team defensively, and just trying to get Mamoswine Gengar in as much as possible with possibly Como coming in to sweep at the end with some setup. His other big defensive line is Aromatisse. I battled his Aromatisse last season. He's very good with it. It's very hard to kill. So I think that's just another thing. It'll be passing up wishes for Milotic and Zapdos, Mamoswine as well. And I think Aromatisse Registeel is actually a very solid combo because Registeel can't really heal on its own outside of rest. And so passing wishes into that thing is going to be super annoying for anyone that has to face it.
Yeah, because Registeel, I mean, with the base 150s on both defenses is definitely its own problem itself. I mean, Mamoswine...
You gotta get that thing super effectively if you want to get rid of it.
Yeah, and then like Zapdos can go defensive with Thunder Wave, and it can heal itself with Roost. And I mean, it gets Heat Wave and Hurt. And then Kamalo, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he could get off like, let's say he brings it, do Clanger's Soul.
Yeah,
and
anything's possible with that thing. Spray Clanger's Soul is a very good set.
Yeah, I mean,
I had it in EPL, and I actually found myself running Dragon Dance a lot, just because its physical move coverage is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, really, its only special attack is Clanging Scales.
Yeah. It's got Aura Sphere, which is nice, Flamethrower, but like its coverage is a lot more limited.
Yeah.
The one thing that I do question about this team is the Alolan Ninetales. I know that was a grace period pickup, I believe, and he already had a Fairy type. He already had an Ice type. I'm not sure if Snowcloak is legal in this league. Snowcloak Mamoswine could be fun, but I don't really see what Alolan Ninetales is bringing besides Veil, which I feel like he's going to want to bring Mamoswine or Aromatisse over it most of the time, unless he wants to double up on those typings, which can be difficult because it is weak to rocks.
Yeah, like, I think it's not, but I'm not sure if abilities follow the same rules as
Yeah. I know we have an invasion clause, but I don't know if it includes Snowcloak.
Yeah, I'm not...
Mamoswine usually wants to run Snowcloak when Thick Fat is available.
Yeah, and then if we get into his lower tiers and whatnot, I mean, Thwackey, let's be real. Ever since the hidden abilities got released for the Galarian starters, you will not find a Grookey, Thwackey, Rillaboom without Grassy Surge, or a Scorbunny, Raboot, or Cinderace without Libera. And if you do, it's only because those abilities are banned.
And actually, I love Thwackey on this team because I think it pairs really well with Milotic and Registeel. It means that you can run the Flame Orb Milotic a lot easier because you aren't losing HP every turn if the Grassy Terrain is up. And Registeel loves passive recovery. If you got leftovers and Grassy Terrain on that thing, then you don't even have to worry about the recovery, its lack of recovery when you're gaining so much HP back at any given time. I think it's a bit problematic with the Mamoswine because Mamoswine likes to click 2-3 moves, and it's Earthquake and Icicle Crash, and you don't really want to be clicking Earthquake and Grassy Terrain. But I think that they can get around that. It's not so big an issue. Como also likes to run Earthquake quite often, but I don't think it's that big of an issue. But overall, I do like Thwackey a lot on this team.
Yeah, I kind of do. And then Carkol, I think he just did that for rock coverage, really, rock and fire cover, even though...
I think he said in his analysis that he picked it up because it gets spikes, rocks, and rapid spin. Speaking from experience, he's probably not going to bring that. It's one of those things that looks good on paper, and then every single matchup you realize, oh, they've got a water type or a ground type that switches in super easily, and they can just start firing off Earthquakes or, Scalds, and it makes it a lot more difficult to bring Carkol on any given week.
Yeah, and then sadly, Galarian...
So strong, the top 6-7 Pokemon.
Yeah, and then sadly, like, the Galarian Linoon, it's not like it's Hoenn counterpart where it can get the belly drum, but I think they changed it to where it can't, like, you can't have belly drum and extreme speed anymore.
Galarian Linoon does not learn belly drum, actually. I had it last season, and its really only uses are knockoff and parting shot, but it does get quick feet. And honestly, I think it's a very solid Pokemon. It's something that you're only going to bring once or twice a season when there's a real scary ghost type or something like that. But I think it's quite good at what it does. It gives you momentum, it gives you speed, and for an F tier, it's not bad. And it can run Eviolite, which is something the other Linoon can't do.
True, and I also found this out with Galarian Linoon and how you just said it with Quick Feet. that Mon is actually faster than a Cloyster at +2 after Shell Smash if it's got a status ailment.
Yeah, I think it's faster than, say, Dragapult, too, which is kind of impressive and kind of nice because this team, outside of Linoon, doesn't really have any good Ghost switches.
No.
He doesn't have he only has one Ghost weakness, so it's not a real big issue. I don't think it's going to be a problem for this team, but it's always nice to have an immunity, and Linoon is, a really solid one if you just sort of think, oh, shoot, I need that. And also, it helps with the Dark Pit because otherwise, stored power sets would be big trouble for this team.
Yes, this is very true. All right, next up on the team is, ironically enough, they have team in the name, and I wonder if they're a Birdkeeper Toby fan with this team name, Team Tempest. I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's a subtle reference to Toby's series, which 6 episodes in, it's really good. He's gotten some good.
But I'm familiar with. I think they go by Kiwi. I've never said it out loud, but I've seen him in multiple leagues. I think I've battled him at some point. But I think they're a really solid coach, and it's cool to see them here in the YCL. And I really like their team. It's a weird team, and definitely not one that I think most people would draft, but I think it looks like a lot of fun.
I mean, at first glance, to me, this is one of the stronger teams on paper that I'm noticing, because
I don't know if I've ever seen someone draft 2 grass types in their top 3, but honestly, I don't know if that's a bad thing. Like, Rillaboom and Ferrothorn do completely different things, and they have like Volcanion switching on those fire types. So I think it's the worst.
And then he's got Galvantula for Webs control. He's got Braviary with its own Sheer Force combination. Sniper on Drapion. That if you let a Drapion get a critical hit, Lord have mercy on the Mon that's coming.
Yeah, and I really like the hazard control on this team. Ferrothorn teams are always going to have good hazard control, but they also have Toxic Spikes and Webs, which I think is really nice. I think they have all covered, and they also have good removal with multiple Rapid Spinners with Hitmontop and Claydol. So I think that they'll be able to set up their hazards and keep hazards off of their side of the field, which is going to be important when you have Kyurem and Volcanion and Braviary and Galvantula. So a lot of rock sweeping.
Yeah, and then if he wanted to with his lower tier mons, Emolga probably would only be there like as a joke game or something like that.
Emolga always looks good in matchups, but the problem is it's just incredibly weak and frail. And so it's nice to, Volt Switch and stuff like that, have ground immunity, but it's not hitting that hard and it's not taking hits very well either. So it's okay, but I don't really see it coming over Galvantula all too often if they need electric firepower.
Yeah, and then Morgrem, I think he would only bring that if his strategy is deliberately, let's focus on the Prankster, because it still gets that. I think it gets the same moves as Grim. I think it gets Light Screen, gets Reflect, it can taunt.
It likes to use screens, but it's a lot harder to justify using Light Play when you have to run Eviolite on it. So I think it's a decent Pokemon. It's a Fairy tag, which this team didn't have. So I don't think that's the biggest issue because Ferrothorn can take all those dragon hits just fine. But I think it is something that they kind of just picked up because they really felt like they needed a Fairy type.
Yeah, exactly. And then our last team in the Armor Division, because what we're going to do is, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have the Armor Division on my channel, and then we're going to put the Tundra Division on Matt's channel so that we get a little bit of views for both sides, because that's my goal. I like to help out everybody.
Oh, okay. I'm down with that.
Yeah, I decided to spring it on you last second in the middle of the video.
Yeah, I thought it was still going on your channel, but that's fine by me.
Yeah, the Armor one we'll put on mine, and then the Tundra one we'll do on yours and whatnot.
Alright.
Alright, so last team in the Armor Division is the Greasy Goodras, which at first glance at my images I took, I thought it said Grassy Goodras. I'll be fully honest there.
You never know.
Yeah, and right off rip. You got Galarian Darmanitan.
Yeah, I love Galarian Darmanitan. It's so much fun. People like to sleep on the belly drum set, but I think it's always super good just because no one ever expects it. And an unexpected belly drum Darmanitan.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I don't know if you heard it or if I said it in the SPC server, but Seb's strategy before he unfortunately ran out of time, he tailwinded with Talonflame and was going into Scarf tailwinded Gorilla Tactics Galarian Darmanitan.
Nothing's outspeeding that. I think tailwinded, but it's okay with Darm, I guess.
Yeah, it's alright, because I mean, you could have the band on it too.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
you only get 2 turns of Tailwind to take advantage of, so I don't love it in singles.
Yeah, and then if you want it, yeah, I mean, you got the outside Galarian Darmanitan, you got Hawlucha, who can run Psychic Seed and then get the Unburden, or you can do Power Herb to activate Unburden. You got Rodon Wash, which is good for crippling opponents and switching out with Volt Switch. Salamence is a dominant mon with Dragon Dances and Earthquakes and all that. I think the one mon that I'm just trying to figure out, like, what can Celebi do? Really, what can that mon do?
It sets rocks, it pivots out, it sets Leech Seed. I think it's a solid Pokemon. This team is not super scared of the grass types with U-turn and that type of stuff because they do have Salamence. They have Incineroar too. They have 2 Intimidators, so U-turn is super scary against them. I think it's just a nice lead usually. I think it gets some sort of recovery. I'm not real sure because, I mean, it's not my favorite grass type or psychic type, but I do like that it gets momentum, U-turn, it gets stealth rocks. I think it's pretty similar to the Lake Trio, just with a little bit different typing, a little bit different set.
I guess that's fair. I mean, I've never used Celebi. Hell, I've never even captured a Celebi before.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, I never played Chris. I never got the GS ball. So
yeah.
But
I love this team's momentum as well. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, because Magneton gets Volt Switch, right?
It would be Incineroar, Magneton, Clefairy, Lopunny. I think that's about 8 out of 11 as well, which is really pretty good.
Yeah, and then Sandslash is a good mon in its own right. I mean, it can be. I mean, it can, if it hits you, it can hit really hard. I mean, and then Magneton, do not underestimate the power of an analytic boosted move.
Yeah, I definitely like the Magneton a lot more than some of the other lower tier Pokemon. I think Sandslash is something that you'll look at and say, wow, this is a lot better than the other things in its tier. But again, it's just very underwhelming, mostly because of the stats. But I think Clefairy is a great F-tier Pokemon. It covers the Fairy type form, which is great. Lopunny is nice because it does get momentum. It gets Clutch Switcheroo, which is always fun. And it's quite fast for a low tier Pokemon. And again, Magneton, super good. It gets Magnet Pulse, so stuff like, your Celesteelas, your Corviknights, your Skarmories can get taken out really easily if you're not careful. And I think it pairs very well with stuff like Indeedee.
Yeah, I can.
Don't like types.
Yeah, because Indeedee, I mean, now I don't know if he's allowed to use both, like
Yeah, I believe so, but I don't know when you would ever want to use the female one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know it either, but I mean they can both do their own damage and whatnot. Now, what I will say though is now we've gone through all the teams.
Yeah,
we're gonna do a premature rank of what the finals are going to be for this division.
Okay.
So.
Well, I'm not gonna say myself because you never do that. That's how you choose yourself.
Well, we can always just say that you'll be in the top 3. I mean, that's not really a jinx.
We'll say I'll bubble out of playoffs based on differentials, so that I don't have to say I'm making playoffs.
Yeah. So, honestly, the way that it looks, I'm going to say Makeda wins. So I'm gonna say Makeda. So Makeda will put first.
I'm gonna put Amel as my top team, the Skorupies. I really like that team. Maybe it's just my bias towards Cinderace, but I think that this is a really well-rounded team, and it's quite strong with defensive pivots.
Okay, so we basically flip-flop those two teams because I got Amel finishing in second. I think truthfully, I think whoever wins their game will win this division. Just because.
I also think Rory's team is sneaky good. I think people will overlook it because he only has one S tier, but his team is very balanced, and I think it's going to be very hard to break with really good wall breakers as well. So I think he could very easily win the division as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll even say this: you know, I'm actually going to go this far. I'm going to say you and Tempest will tie for that third spot. I'll actually say Rory finishes in fifth.
Okay, I think I'm going to be honest. I think Team Tempest is my least favorite team in this division. I like the coach a lot, and I think they're very good and they'll be able to use it well. But I just think there's a lot of overlap in that team, and I think all the other teams in this division are a lot more balanced. I do like the Greasy Gudras team a little bit better than that one. So I think if I were to rank just the teams, I think I would have Team Tempest at the bottom.
And then have
side effective drafting 2 grass types at the top of their team.
And then it'd be a 3-way race between you, Rory, and...
I'm not going to rank myself because,
No, you can... That's just...
I'll just say I'm going to win, so that way people can be happy when I lose.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, hey, if you can have fun and mess with yourself, that's all that matters. Now, ladies and...
Every league needs someone to cheer against, and I might as well be that person.
Yes, absolutely. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we said, this is the end of the Armor Division video. We want to thank Matt, also known as BadassFroslass. He is going to help us out with the Tundra Division recording. That'll be live on his channel. And you guys can also check out Makeda and Hollow Kid doing the Sword and Shield divisions. And I honestly can't wait to hear what they say about my team.
Sure.
All right, later, guys. Congratulations! You made it all the way to the end of this video. I thank you very much for your support on this current video. If you want to interact with me more, check out my socials right here. That's my Twitch, that's my YouTube, that's my Twitter. You can comment on any one of them and tell me how good I was, how bad I was, anything you want. Goodbye.